still doing it. Now, g'day. G'day. Seems that AAP are fact-checking everybody, including me. That's okay. They quote lots and lots of sections of different and points and answers to what I said. Let's check them. Every AAP fact check article is a result of meticulous process involving numerous experienced journalists. What the hell do you know? And producers. What the hell do they know? Our articles are thoroughly researched, carefully crafted and rigorously scrutinised to ensure the highest standard of accuracy and objectivity in every piece. Well, thank you very much for the little declaration of who you think you are and how your level of it, and you give all this legislation, acts, none of it has any value. Why doesn't it? Well, you're about to find out, because you're not listening. First of all, you refer to the clauses in the Constitution, this one. Where in it does it say these clauses are only for the provision of what you say? It doesn't. What you said is nonsense. It's not the truth. You haven't checked it properly. If you did check it properly, you would find out that you were wrong, and you haven't done it. You quote sections of the Constitution. You quote from associate professor in legal issues. So let's see what you've got to say. Just shut off. It's just done. Just shut the lot off. Thank you. We're back on again. We disappeared. From AAP about one of your posts doesn't apply our verdict. False. The clause does not remove or invalidate state or electoral boundaries. It does. It doesn't apply anymore. So what boundaries are there? Oh, you're going to say 106. 106 allows the states the state constitutions to continue, subject to the Commonwealth one. Well, if the Commonwealth is granted authority to set boundaries as you claim, then it's taken away from the states. Oh, look at that. And the Act, Imperial Law, that says how our elections are held, puts it into perspective. Something you haven't considered and Anne Toomey never looked at. There's a reason for it. Because when you look at Section 8 of the Constitution, you can vote for one person once for the Senate and one person once for the House of Representatives, Section 30. You never considered it because, from what I can see, both on your AAP post, you're referring to a green constitution, which is crap. It's copyrighted to the political parties. So who wrote it? Political parties? Why would they have that? Oh, look at that. They had a constitutional convention. Why? Because they realised what Sir Harry Gibbs said was correct. It was a lie. This is the interpretation of our Constitution, not the green one. Stop misleading and deceiving people. You want a fact check? Go for it. I'm not denying you that right, but make sure your facts are correct, because they're not. Now, the clause does not remove or invalidate state or electorate boundaries. Well, it actually says it does. Remove boundaries. The Boundaries Act doesn't apply. So what boundaries are you referring to now? Oh, you come up with Section 29. No. That says until the Parliament. Which Parliament? Federal Parliament. You can't grant to both Parliaments, state and federal. It continues subject to. So you got that one wrong. We'll come back to federal. Experts say, there has been a spurge of drip under pressure. Understand that. Say the nation's founding legal document empowered parliaments to set electoral boundaries, and it did not dissolve state borders. No one said it dissolved state borders. It moved control of quarantine from the states under Section 69 to Section 9, which is what I stated, which is correct. Read it and weep. You got that wrong. So it actually removed it from the states. Removed it. Telecommunications, boys, everything else. So what are you referring to? You don't know, because your experts got it wrong. The false claim is in Facebook video 1, in which a man questions why Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke has constituents before claiming that electoral divisions are invalid. It wouldn't matter if they're invalid or valid. He represents the whole state. You can only vote for one person once. And he is not a Home Affairs Minister. He did not comply with the provisions of the Constitution. Look at that, 61 to 68. Who selects the ministers? They are part of the executive government, executive council. They are given their ministry by the portfolios. The portfolios are given to them by the monarch's representative, being the Governor-General, which we don't have, because the Governor-General was elected under the letters patent issued by Bob Hawke. And she states she can issue a letters patent. No, she can't. She takes advice from the Prime Minister. No, she can't. She takes advice from the person she represents, the reigning monarch. Fact. You got that fact wrong. Why has he got constituents? Why has he got an area when Clause 8 of our Constitution and Boundaries Act doesn't apply? You can't have a boundary, nor not electoral nothing, the man says. And you put a timestamp in there. Yeah, I did say that. I didn't say anything about him having anything. You said it. I didn't refer to that. If somebody else changed what I said, that's fine. You can divide this country up into states. All of those lines are imaginary on a document which shows the outline of this country. Well, where is the border? Big wall right across the country to depict where the states are. It's an imaginary line. It's a line drawn on a piece of paper. Is it exactly where it is? I don't know. Has anybody else checked it? No. An Australian flag flying in front of Parliament House in Canberra, I never referred to that. The Australian Constitution sets out the powers of the Commonwealth and state governments. Lucas Koch, AAP photos. Yes, that's nice. Australian Constitution. It's a Commonwealth Constitution to start off with, not an Australian one. Sets out the powers of the Commonwealth. As I said, the Australian one is the green one. The Commonwealth one is this one. Sets out nothing. Sets out nothing. And Toomey, and this is the second thing you're referring to, a Professor Emerita in Constitutional Law at the University of Sydney, describes the claim as absolute nonsense. Well, I say what she says is absolute nonsense too. She has proved nothing. She's just said absolute nonsense. I never referred to that. So where is the boundaries? Until we have a lawful federal parliament, a lawful executive, legislature and judicature. What the Constitution says. The Boundaries Act has been removed. No, those clauses aren't there for the reason she gave. She said that Section 29 of the Constitution empowers the federal parliament to legislate for electorates, including determining boundaries. Well, let's put that in perspective. Western Australia never put its lawful constitution in place. She knows You would know if you looked at the times and times and times again where I produce the lawful one and the fraudulent one. The lawful one and the fraudulent one. You would also see the fact New South Wales removed their constitution in August 1902 and replaced it with another one. So where do they get their authority from? 1922, Queensland removed its upper house. Where do they get their authority from? Is their constitution still complying with that? 106? No. No, it's not. Then you can turn around and say, look at that. 1934, South Australia and Tasmania removed their constitution, replaced them and butchered them up. 1975, Victoria dumped theirs. So now, where is your federal parliament coming from? Where did it come from? We started off with five states using their correct constitutions. We always needed six. When the colonies, and there were six, became states, there would have had to been six lawfully appointed states under 107, 108 and 109. That's a fact. Do you agree with that? No. And to me, no. And all these people saying it never happened, Western Australia never went in. Well, actually the Constitution says they did. Where does it say, Anne Toomey, and you can't prove otherwise because you are misleading the people teaching what you're teaching? You said only Clause 9 applies. Well, what you're saying is these are here. They're all in the Act. 9 clauses. Clause 9, the Constitution of the Commonwealth shall be as follows, and you're saying that establishes the Commonwealth. Does it? The Commonwealth shall be established and the Constitution of the Commonwealth shall take effect on and after the day so appointed, but the parliaments of the several colonies may at any time after the passing of this Act make any such laws to come into operation on the day so appointed, as they might have made if the Constitution had taken effect at the passing of this Act, which was the 9th of July 1900. I comprehend that. That establishes the Commonwealth. Clause 4. Where is it, Anne Toomey? You took it out. You only refer to Clause 9, which doesn't establish anything. So you got that wrong. So she said that Section 29, yeah, it does allow the federal parliament if it was ever established, but it was never. You needed 6 states to establish the first parliament. Section 123 covers altering state boundaries. She added, yeah, of course you would have added that. But New South Wales in 1909 attended on the Parliament, which didn't exist because it already dumped its constitution. Constitution subject to Clause 9. They dumped it. Subject to 106, sorry, not Clause 9. They dumped their state constitution. The Act was Act number 9. They wanted to cut off the 50-mile square area, 100 miles from the centre of New South Wales, or Sydney, to create Canberra. 123 is very, very clear. And this is where you messed up big time, Anne Toomey. You know, I've said it, and you won't debate me. You will not clarify things, because you say what you say is correct, and it's not. It's not correct. It is a lie. It says clearly in 123, first it must be approved by the Parliament. We get that. Secondly, it must go to the people in a referendum. You forgot that or didn't get it. But you tell the fact checkers that it's incorrect. 123 covers altering state boundaries, she said. It doesn't say that for that purpose. It's to increase or decrease the area of a state. It has nothing to do with boundaries. So you got that wrong. Harry Hobbs, a legal expert. Legal? What happened to lawful expert? Why didn't you refer to a lawful one? New South Wales said Parliament exercised the power to set electoral boundaries through the Commonwealth Electoral Act. Liar. If the Commonwealth sets the boundaries, the states can't read your own constitution. New South Wales didn't have a constitution as of August 1902. Fact. This law sets out electoral divisions and establishes redistribution committees to ensure electorates remain roughly equal in population, Associate Professor Hobbs said. Well, that's interesting. When I challenged the Governor of Western Australia, when the Western Australian Parliament decided they could alter the boundaries of the electorates of New South Wales in the state constitution, which shouldn't have been used because we can only vote for one person once to represent the whole state. It couldn't be altered. You couldn't have a boundary there. It was not workable to do that. But they did it to put all the voting into the metropolitan area. So I challenged the Governor's ability to sign off on it based on those facts, and the court threw it all out and ignored it. But you don't want to even know about that. Why didn't the Commonwealth, if it had authority over those boundaries, say, no, you're not going to do it? Of course they won't. When contacted, the Post author confirmed to AAP fact check that he was referring to Clause 8 of that Act. And that's a fact. A graphic of the Colonial Boundaries Act 1895 on a laptop. No, I didn't refer to any of that. The Colonial Boundaries Act 1895 detailed how boundaries in British colonies could be changed. It did no longer apply when the colonies became state. It no longer applied. So your fact checkers messed up on that one. www.legislation.gov.uk. So what? It didn't apply anymore. The Constitution says so. And what do you say? I got it wrong. The law effectively establishes Australia's federation under UK law. The whole of the Constitution. This. Read it and weep, and you better start comprehending, you so-called fact checkers. You are not. This and the 9 clauses all apply. It says up the top, whereas the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland and Tasmania, humbly relying on the blessing of Almighty God, have agreed to unite in one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and under the Constitution hereby established. Be it therefore enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Lord Spiritual and Temporal and Commons in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Queen Victoria never liked the fact that it left out Western Australia, issued a proclamation that we'll be in it. We will be in it. It's on the wall in the Church of England in Perth. Fact. You never considered that. You never wanted to talk about it. Clause 3. It shall be lawful for the Queen, with the advice of the Privy Council, to declare by proclamation that, and she did, on and after a day herein appointed, not being later than 1 year after the passing of this Act, the people of New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Queensland, Tasmania, and also, if Her Majesty is satisfied the people of Western Australia have agreed thereunto of Western Australia, shall be united in a federal Commonwealth under the name of the Commonwealth of Australia, but the Queen may at any time after the proclamation appoint a Governor-General for the Commonwealth, which she did and issued a letters patent. Did you consider that? No. So, and to me, Moxon is not a lawful Governor-General. She's not appointed under that. She doesn't comply with it. And Queen Victoria did proclaim, because she was satisfied Western Australia wanted to be part of it, she proclaimed Western Australia into Federation, all by the 1st of January 1901. Says so. And you're trying to say those clauses only did this, did that. Nonsense. They are part of the Act. It says, an Act to constitute the Commonwealth of Australia. 9th of July 1900. Do those clauses apply? Yes. The Boundaries Act, how you said it, does not apply. Covering Clause 8 does not remove or affect existing boundaries of the Commonwealth or state. She told, I don't care what she told you. Doesn't mean it's true. It means she doesn't comprehend what it says. And she doesn't. Do I? Yeah. Yeah. The state constitutions are letters patent. They apply, not in fact entirely, subject to, under the provisions of 106. The states did not exist before Federation. They were colonies. They started to exist when this constitution came into being. Fact. Read it and weep. Professor Toomey said that the process for changing state and national borders is set out in the actual constitution, which gives the Commonwealth Parliament the power to do so under certain conditions. The fact that they're lawful is one good condition, and they never have been, and still are not. There are no lawful state constitutions in place to comply with 106. And you won't listen because you know better. A picture of the Australian Constitution. The Australian Constitution did not abolish existing state borders. The Australian Constitution did, through Clause 8. That Act no longer applied. There was no borders in compliance with this Constitution. I can see why you removed it, why the Parliament proclaims that it has that right. The latter section provides that state borders may be altered by the Commonwealth Parliament. No, it doesn't. 123 refers to cutting off sections of land, like when you removed the Northern Territory from South Australia. You needed a referendum. You didn't get it, so you didn't comply with 123. That was a blatant act of treason against the people in our Constitution. Fact, and to me. Fact, and you are not listening because you know. Associate Professor Hobbs said the Constitution established a federation of 6 states. Yes, it did. A federation of 6 states. Chapter 5 of the Constitution, which he noted was titled The States, contains 15 provisions dealing with this. Includes Section 106, which explicitly preserves the colonial institutions of each of the founding states. The states decided to join up into an indissoluble Commonwealth. The states did not. The colonies decided. Associate Professor Hobbs told AAP fact-checkers, at no point did they intend to, or were they trying to dissolve themselves or dissolve their borders. They did not do that. Nobody said they did dissolve the borders. The Boundaries Act no longer applies. The Constitution dissolved those borders. Not the borders of the states, the borders of the electoral areas. Because you only given, under our Constitution, the right to vote for one person once for the Senate and one person once for the House of Representatives. And they represent the whole state. Read your Constitution, it's clear. Otherwise, you are only given half a dozen people to represent the whole, all the different things. But you're not doing that. You are not doing that. You are given a heap of figures which establish the first federal parliament, and it was never used because we've never had one. But let's go back to what I'm talking about, which you will not listen to because you know everything. You think you know everything. This is about the problem we have. Because you don't want to listen when it's put in front of you. The law is put in front of you. The Constitution is the law, including the 9 clauses, until you show where those 9 clauses are removed lawfully. There's not. The Boundaries Act applies at federal level, allows the federal parliament, not the Prime Minister or his cabinet, or the national cabinet, or emergency powers, or anybody else, to change electoral boundaries. That's manipulating the vote according to the things. It's talking about getting equal representation. And the Parliament has to do it. The Parliament consists of an executive, a legislature and a judicature. As I've explained before, the executive, which is 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper, according to the Red Book, not your green crap. We've never authorised that. Political parties put it together. They had a convention. Who said they can have a convention? We didn't. The result of the convention after federation would have to go to the people. It never did. So you lied about that. You stated then to me, but both those books are exactly the same. But both those books are not exactly the same. I've explained that before, and you failed to listen because you know everything. This includes Section 106, which explicitly preserves the colonial institutions of each of the founding states. No, it doesn't. It explicitly preserves the state constitutions subject to the federal constitution and altered in accordance with the constitution. They were made letters patent. They can't be changed. They apply subject to this constitution. We've never had a federal parliament. You never even put the state constitution together or in place for Western Australia, and New South Wales took it out. Isn't Anne Toomey a professor at the New South Wales University? How come they let you in there when you refuse to look at or abide by the Constitution? Because you don't know what it says. At no point did they intend to, or were they trying to, dissolve themselves or dissolve their borders. They did not do that. Nobody said they did. The Boundaries Act doesn't apply, so none of the boundaries apply. It was put in there for a reason. If you say to establish the Commonwealth, well, it was established without boundaries in the states. And when the federal parliament decided it had the right, if it was lawfully set up, and it never has been, to set boundaries, those boundaries would be set by them. It's not set by the states. It doesn't say set by the states. It is a legislative authority granted to the federal parliament when they become a commonwealth and the parliament sits lawfully, which they do not. They don't. So you're lying, Anne Toomey, or spreading lies, as I've said before. If you keep pushing them, you're lying. AAP Fact Check is an accredited member of the International Fact Checking Network. To keep up with our latest fact checks, follow us on Facebook. I read your Facebook things and you give all your references. And you know what I say to you? Grow up. Every AAP fact check article is a result of a meticulous process where you better change it. Because you've mapped out maximally this way and taken a dive in absolute nonsense and lies. And I don't say it for any other reason that our Constitution says. Until the 6 created states put their constitutions back in place, which are letters patent, cannot be changed or altered in any way without the monarch signing off on them. George V came to Australia in 1920 and he stated, I uphold my grandmother's letters patents, and it's recorded. There was a issue, and it was made, proclaimed and gazetted that he did it. Proclaimed and gazetted. How come you don't know about that, Ann Toomey? Or are you concealing it or lying about it? You make up your decision on that, whether you're going to tell the truth or not. You can't change it. In 2008, Queen Elizabeth came to Australia, went before the federal parliament and said, I uphold all of my great-grandmother's letters patents. Puts them all back in place. The Commonwealth Constitution Act, 1900 UK, is a letters patent. When we had a referendum in 1967, you removed the Constitution or sections of it. Have you got the blue book there somewhere? Thank you. I referred to this before. You removed section 127. How do I know? Because it's gone. It's been removed out of here. Aren't you nice? Where is it? Doesn't exist. You took it out. Goes from 126 to 128. Look at that, you took it out. Did it alter the Constitution? Yeah. Did we ask you to? No. What did we ask you to do? Give Aboriginals the same rights as us. 90.2% of Australians voted for that. And what did you come up with? You removed 127. How do we know you removed it? Because you crapped yourself and you put it back in with your green constitution. You knew you had no authority to do it. What, you didn't think anybody would notice what you're doing? Of course you didn't. And you changed the Constitution. You changed it before with 23A. The provision of maternity allowances, widows' pensions, child endowment, unemployment, pharmaceutical, sickness and hospital benefits, medical and dental services, but not so as to authorise any form of civil conscription, benefits to students and family allowances. You changed the Constitution. You added that to the Constitution, not as an addition under 123. You created another one against 5123, invalid and old age pensions granted to us by the Constitution. You took 7.5% from the 1st of January 1946 for our pensions. Where are they? Why are they means tested? Oh, look at these people, they've got millions of dollars. Yes, they earned it. And in getting those millions of dollars, they paid massive amounts of tax. The 7.5% was against what you got paid. And you took it. And you stored it up. And Keating used it to build the new Parliament House. Who told you you could put that into consolidated revenue? Was that lawful? No, it wasn't. Now, 26, 51, subsection 26. The people of any race other than the Aboriginal race in any state for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. So you took out other than the Aboriginal race in any state and made it the people of any race for whom it is deemed necessary to make special laws. That's not what we were asked by referendum. So you lied about that. So there's 3 places where I've shown you've unlawfully changed the Constitution. What did you do? Committed blatant treason. You had to leave those sections in, move it down a bit in the book, because we gave you permission to alter, not change. You changed, you did not alter. And you knew you did it because it became abundantly clear to you when you produced your vomit, mucus, crap, green book, which is all it is. You did it. You removed it. 127 is gone out of the Constitution. Out of this book. It's your book. The Constitution, as altered to October 1986, contains the Australia Act. Oh, the Australia Act didn't alter anything. Well, how come in the Australia Act it was made pursuant to Section 51, subsection 38? An act to bring constitutional arrangements affecting the Commonwealth and the states into conformity with the status of the Commonwealth of Australia as a sovereign, independent and federal nation. How come it wasn't on the one in England? How come it wasn't on there? Oh, that didn't alter anything? Of course it did. And Clause 5, or Section 5 says it didn't, but it did. Whereas the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth and the Premiers of the states at conferences held in Canberra on the 24th and 25th of June 1982 and the 21st of June 1984 agreed on the taking of certain measures to bring constitutional arrangements affecting the Commonwealth and the states into conformity with the status of the Commonwealth of Australia as a sovereign, independent and federal nation. That doesn't change the Constitution? Of course it does. We're a self-governing colony of England. Oh, look at that. You say Clause 8 doesn't apply. That's where you took it out, Anne Toomey. Did you know what you were doing? I believe you did. And if you stand trial, a jury will have to rule for that. And you will stand trial. It's treason. You have given the Parliament total control of this country through your videos. You said the Parliament is above the Constitution. The Prime Minister is above the Parliament. No, that is an outright lie. He doesn't even exist in law. Only as a foreman of the Parliament. If he is so elected by the Parliament to be the Speaker and foreman, so he can deliver what the Parliament decides to the Governor-General and the Governor at state level in relation to premiers. You can say I'm wrong, prove it. I have the right under Chapter 3, Section 76, page 795 to demand you and AAP to show where in the Constitution you derive your authority to exist. Fact checkers, you show us in our Constitution where you get authority to threaten the people of this country. You'll take them off our internet, belongs to us, because it's whereas the people, not whereas the Parliament. Of a law passed for us, not over us. If it's for our safety, put it to us and explain how, because you can't. That's not what you're about. You're about lying, thieving, cheating and deceiving. And we did not. Nobody agreed. There were no lawful state parliaments. There were no lawful state constitutions in place in 1984-85. So how did you get an enabling act from them? Permission to do what you did. You didn't. And this piece of garbage changes Western Australia and Queensland. So it does alter. And it refers to the Queen of Australia. There's no such person. And whereas in pursuant to paragraph 51(38) of the Constitution, the parliaments of all the states have requested. They didn't request anything. They didn't exist. They didn't comply with 106. They can't request anything. So let's look at 51(38, bearing in mind we're fact-checking fact checkers to see if they know what they're talking about. Obviously, so far, they don't. So we'll go to 51(38. Just so I get this clear, so you start to understand. Look at powers of the Parliament. We need 3 X's, a V, which is 5, and 3 1s. How do you like that? Roman numerals. I still remember that from school. 5138. The exercise within the Commonwealth at the request or with the concurrence of the parliaments of all the states directly concerned, which is every one of them, if they were lawfully appointed, of any power which can at the establishment of this constitution be exercised only by the Parliament of the United Kingdom or by the Federal Council of Australia. No, there was no Federal Council at Federation. There was no Federal Parliament at Federation. They had to create the states lawfully. As I've said, you created 5, you created 6. You only put 5 constitutions in place, so they weren't there lawfully. What did you add to our constitutions, the state ones? The unlawful ones, because it had all been removed and replaced or altered massively without permission of the reigning monarch. They were letters patents, needed it. If you deny that, Anne, to me, you would only be lying. But let's put it back in. Quick and Garran, the Red Book, who are the interpreters of the Constitution, said there was no authority. But even if that wasn't so, they only had 7 legislative areas, exercisable by the Australasian Council and even less by the colonies. What did that tell you? There was only 7. And even less by the colonies. And all those authorities are contained in section 51 in the Constitution. So where did you get authority over our land in section 51? My argument put to the court, accepted by the magistrate in 2019, he said he didn't have any authority because he realised he didn't have any and wasn't going to stick his neck out. And I understand that. I respect that. He realised there was no Crown. You removed it with the Acts Amendment Repeals Court and Legal Practice Act, and you'd removed it in every other state as well, because you didn't have any lawful constitutions. Am I correct? Yes, read it. It's there. Nowhere in section 51 were you given authority over titles. It belonged to the Crown, exercisable by the governors of the states, at the same level as the Governor-General. Read the Constitution. It's in there, Chapter 3. Read it and weep. I got it right, you got it wrong. You don't accept that because you're not going to accept. You made a huge big blunder. You've tried to cover it up with your green mucus constitution and lie and mislead and deceive the people. Do I believe professors? No. I check out what you say. The reason I started doubting professors is when I left school, I went into metal spinning on a lathe, making pots, dishes, cups, jugs, whatever, spun out of a circle of aluminium or copper or stainless steel. I realised there is more to physics than we were taught at school. Because as you bend that aluminium while it's spinning over a block shaped to what you want, it flows. How does aluminium, when it's cold, flow? Does it thin itself out? No. No. If you push it too hard, it will ripple and buckle and it's useless, but you soon learn not to. You soon learn how to do it properly. So I started checking everything like my dad told me and like I was taught at school. Keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut and learn, unless you're asking a question to obtain knowledge. Well, I dealt with a woman who was studying environmental science, and she did her thesis on the fact that there was alcohol. The alcohol in the fuel we use in our cars was found there naturally. Well, when you look at the process of refining oil, the temperatures alone are way above 90 degrees, more around 200 degrees, and the alcohol turns to a vapour and disappears. That's what they're burning off on that nice little long leg out from the Kwinana refinery. That little flame runs all the time trying to burn it off. It does not stay there, it's added. They put, for enhancing in our fuel, ethylated naphthalene, methylated naphthalene and triethyl naphthalene. 3 different types of naphthalene being an enhancer for octane. We used to crush them up and put them in our petrol when we were kids, make our cars go better and faster, more power. Naphthalene balls. Can you buy it now? No, you can't even buy the flakes. You're getting little balls in little cages. That's what you get when you go to buy it. Because they'll use it for drugs. No, they won't use it for drugs. You don't want us to enhance our stuff. So, fact checkers, you've just been fact checked. I've looked at everything you said, read the Constitution in relation to it. You're full of crap. The lot is a lie. The lot's a lie. You have no idea what you are talking about because you are not there for sitting in an unbiased position. You're sitting there biased towards the Australian government, which isn't in our Constitution. Where is our Commonwealth Parliament? Executive being 10 from the lower house, 8 from the upper, the Governor General and the Attorney General, to put laws together. Fact. A legislature takes the bill, which is what it is when it comes out of there, and puts it before the lower house to see if it needs correcting in any way. Fact. To the upper house, which is the Senate. Fact. They check if it complies with the Constitution or they say it needs alterations to comply. Fact. If they sign off on it, they give it to the lawful Governor General, which we don't have. Fact. He, because it only says he or him, signs on behalf of the Crown, which binds the Crown to a law made pursuant to our Constitution. Fact. So how are you going to put your purported legislation through now, Anthony Albanese? Your fact checkers have just been fact and found to be wanting. You're full of crap, the lot of yous. You're trying to lie your way into being. You are not. You come against the people in such a wave of blatant treason and fraud, taking away our abilities. The Deputy Police Officer in charge of New South Wales, he came on this morning and said, oh, we allow it if you walk up the thing. We can walk up the roads. They belong to us, the people. It's whereas the people, not whereas the police, the government or anything else. You can walk alongside them. You can drive near them. You will follow those idiots over the bridge, waving a flag from a foreign country. Yes, New South Wales, you did it. Oh, you had nice results, no trouble, because no garbage come out. Instead of you blocking them, which you never did, the rubbish that came against the people when they lawfully did it, because we always did it. We always lawfully protest. Why? Because we have the provisions of Magna Carta that says we can do what it takes to make you abide by our Constitution. You provide a service to the people. You are there to serve the people and arrest the Parliament when it breaches our Constitution. You don't even know what it means. I was teaching 2 sergeants the Constitution. They were ordered to not come back near me or they'd get the sack. One resigned, told them to shove it, and the other one went on and retired. I can understand why. He didn't want to lose his money, but it did not mean that what they did was lawful. They threatened them. And I wouldn't go near the person who resigned because he is so dirty on news about what happened to him and his wife. I know the whole situation. I wouldn't go there. Now understand this. I've just fact-checked the fact-checkers and they are wrong. Anne Toomey misled and deceived people with what she wrote. We didn't have, and she knows, a lawful federal parliament because we only had 5 of the 6 states required to create the first federal parliament. And as each state took it out by August 1902, New South Wales took theirs out and changed it, we only had 4. Queensland removed its upper house. We only had 3. South Australia and Tasmania removed their constitutions and butchered them and replaced them. We then only had 1. It's alleged in 1975 that Victoria removed their constitution and replaced it. They did that, but how much butchered it was, we don't know. And when Dirty Dan fired on the people walking away, running away, shot him in the back. You filthy, dirty, stinking cowards. Dan Andrew, that is treason and war on the people. You will stand trial for that. That's a crime. To force people to have a vaccine is a crime. We voted in a referendum to knock out conscription into taking that. But look at your law, purported law. It says to use an experimental vaccine on the people is a criminal act. A criminal act of, look at that, what you're claiming we do, terrorism. It's a criminal act. And if they die, you are murderers. How many were murdered? Pfizer said a lot. Last time I was fact-checked and they took it down, you put it back when I showed you their documents that said how many died per 1,000. Not million, per 1,000. How many were injured, bodily harm? Never to recover, definitely bodily harm. And yet you still continue with the same nonsense, thinking that you have the right to walk hotshot over the people. No, you don't. Why did I take on what I'm doing? To help the people, because they can't help themselves against the lying fraud and the barrage of crap that's fed out of so-called professors. And the only person in charge of the military is the Governor-General. 68 of the Constitution says so. The Parliament takes advice from the Governor-General, advises her that it should be done if it's necessary, him, not her, if it should be done, but does not control the Governor-General. The reigning monarch does. And that's not the King of Australia. Your Royal Styles and Titles Act is nonsense. You were never given the authority to apply it, debate it and pass it. But even if you did, you still didn't have any authority because you didn't exist for the reasons I've already said. Put back the state constitutions, comply with them, set up the Parliament lawfully and comply with our constitution. Comply with it. Until then, you're lying, thieving, traitors. And AAP, you are traitors. You're party to their offences. Pedophilia, murder, and every single other thing they've done, because you're concealing it, just like the politicians who are guilty of the same. Is this a hate speech? No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't want to see you in jail. I don't want to see you lose everything. But I don't want you to see get everything at the expense of others, which is what you're trying to do. You're trying to say you have that right, but you don't. They are. You can make all the comments you like. I'm not going to answer any of it. None of it. None of it. So you have a nice day and bear in mind what I've said, because all I've told you is what the Constitutional says and what you've done to overturn our Constitution. And no, I didn't lose against the Governor. They didn't get the 30-odd grand they wanted in costs. I laughed at them and walked out because they had no case, and they don't have. I owe them nothing. I had every right to challenge the Governor for signing off on a change to electoral boundaries that favoured the Labor Party in urban areas and not everybody how it was set up. It was done for a reason, and that's why. So you want to laugh at me? Keep laughing. It doesn't worry me. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep telling the truth about you when you keep lying about me. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. I'm going to.